We,
Painful.
Except once.
It's a great idea. There was this one time.
and by we I mean me, want to interview you and for you to tell your story.
Yeah, Larry.
And we're going to
damn
record it.
And we're going to record it.
My center story or my
Your everything.
my attempt
I want
at
to know
sainthood.
sperm and egg.
Sainthood that was the worst 20 minutes of my life.
You told me that this is the 40th anniversary of your being a Christian. And
don't think too hard about this. Just, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say anything more because I don't want you to start talking until we actually start recording.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But I want you to tell your story, and I'll interview you to.
Oh my goodness.
Because good Lord knows Aaron never asks questions.
Yes, I've never.
Oh,
asked questions.
that's exciting.
And
Okay.
I've heard it twice on 2 different road trips. So
You've heard my story.
Yes.
Why don't you tell
You were
it?
there too.
You tell it. You tell my story.
I
I
can tell.
that's my shit.
Hey Larry, remember that one time when you
So do you have any
did that
foil
one
on
thing?
there?
That was awesome. When you started that coffee at the bookstore in that one place? That was awesome.
All right, awesome. All right, Larry, you told me that 40 years ago, so 1973,
Exactly. Yes,
you you became a Christian. Is the way you used the word, the way you phrased it to me.
Jesus started an effort to Christianize me.
Nice.
Okay, all right.
I don't think Jesus cares about that actually, but okay, that's a theological argument.
Yeah.
We won't get into that.
So here's my
The cross wasn't enough of a challenge.
All right. So here's my question. How would you have put it then? Like how would you have described that transition in your life in 1973?
Wow. Well, to the Jesus people, commune, kind of the coffee house movement, it was a shift into a totally different culture of friends, of understanding, of it was insane. It was a life shift.
Larry, did you actually change circles of friends and just radically cut from one culture group to another?
Yeah, I changed stickers on my van. I went, keep on trucking and don't knock if the van's rocking, to some Jesus thing. And
Jesus, my homeboy.
yeah, and we started going to the Jesus festivals, like, the Larry Norman and Phil Kagi and all those kinds of. So there were festivals and bouncing between Christian communes, but all Christian friends. And I still hung out with some old friends that were wondering what was going on. And then traveled around the country some. There was a commune in Virginia. Patch Adams was associated with this Buddhist, some Episcopal, Native American, gay, locavore, veganites,
Typical.
Yeah, very, 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 very.
Yeah. Okay.
Non-mainline.
So this was in Virginia.
Virginia.
All right, but so back us up a little bit because you had grown up in Palo Alto, right?
Yeah, grew up in Palo Alto.
All the way from birth.
Yeah, pretty
on?
much, right. Birth on.
And your dad was an airline pilot.
Yeah. Yeah, and I got to, because my dad was an airline pilot, I got to travel a lot. So I got to travel, around the world, went to lots of places, and I first heard the gospel in New Orleans at Mardi Gras from some street musicians, and then thought that was really interesting, good music, but Mardi Gras was more fun than the gospel. But I was in Alaska 6 months later at a John Mayall blues concert, staying in a friend's cabin, and ran into the same guy that witnessed to me in Mardi Gras.
Really? Okay.
And his
Wow.
his name was Freedom, and he was a Children of God guy.
And this was 73?
73.
Okay.
And so I had, I said, that's an interesting name, Freedom. And anyway, so I ended up deciding that, partly I was on acid, I don't know, and this was like, hey, it's a God moment. Yeah, and...
It was 73.
Yeah, it was 73. I mean, you know, everybody
And you
did
were
it.
17?
No, 20.
You were 20, okay.
20. That was legal. So I ended up going back to this commune outside of Anchorage, the Children of God, and spent a couple days there, and said, gee, I'm going to end up dead, or I'm going to have to give my life up. And I had a brief conversation. I'm not going up some river in a damn canoe and taking arrows for something I don't understand or care about. But if it means I'm going to die, then I'll at least give it a week try, you know, kind of. So then I came back to California and
To home.
at home, bounced around some in Christian communities and some Jesus music kind of stuff in coffee houses, and ended up going to Virginia because my grandfather was dying, and met some Jesus people, had a band called Friends of Jesus, and they were in a little Jesus church, and a bunch of old hippie Jesus hippies and stuff. That was
They weren't old hippies then. They were
young hippies.
They were young hippies.
Yeah. And so they were going to this church that the pastor was kind of like what Calvary Chapel was, but it was like a little country church, and so the pastor's friend was the head of a Bible college.
Okay.
And so the pastor used to let me come into his study, gave me his keys, and said, you come anytime. And so I was like just reading all this stuff.
And what were you reading then?
Reading and Assemblies of God, pastors, stuff on Pentecostal, spiritual, like, what was the Watchman Nee, and you know, sit, walk, stand, all that kind of. But I mean, reading all these things that the Pentecostal charismatic kind of movement, but there were some things in there that were sprinkled in that were, you know, larger than that. But this pastor called his friend, who was his roommate in seminary, who was the president of this Bible college, and his name was Hobie, and he said, Hobie, I got a boy down here that loves the Lord, and I just can't get him out of my library. I think he's called to the ministry.
Okay.
And so up in Northeast Bible Institute in Green Lane, Pennsylvania, they said, Larry's coming up. So he's coming up to the Jan term, and he's going to study for God, you know.
And this would have been
73, 74.
74, okay.
So I get up to this Bible college, and first of all, the dean says, you got to cut that beard off. And I say, no, I ain't cutting no beard off. You know, like, where'd you get that? You know, like, where's that in the Bible? And they said they pulled his beard out, man. He had to have a beard, you know, or something. So we go, no, to get in, you have to have a beard. And I go, no, I ain't cutting it off. So
Now, could you have a beard at all, or just
no one
long?
could have a beard.
No, so no facial hair.
No facial hair.
Okay. Wow.
And so basically, since my pastor knew the president, just said, hey, things are changing, and, you know, like these new people, Jesus people and stuff, you know, we got to kind of honor this. So he intervened. And then also, I was living on
Special
dispensation. I was living on campus, and I started this food co-op, you know, vegetarian thing,
Okay.
and was brewing some. We were going into Philly to some coffee house, and it's like, you can't hang out in those places, man, like the devil, you know, like these, like, people that are into buggery and everything else are in those places drinking coffee in a little cup, and you know, it's just unchristian and everything else. And I said, no, I got to get in there got to get a cup, man. The closest place is Philly. We're going in there.
So all right, this is the first time you brought up coffee. When did you start your relationship with coffee?